He walked quietly across the lobby, pushing the janitor's cart as if apologizing just for existing in a skyscraper built of glass and ambition. In a tower where million-dollar contracts were signed behind soundproof doors, there was a man nobody noticed, a black man invisible in a world of brilliance. And yet it was him, Nathan Cole, who did the impossible. Because the little girl everyone in the building feared, the daughter of billionaire Harold Bennett, was untouchable. That girl, Ivana Bennett, had once been the smile of the entire empire. Now, there was only silence. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments, where are you watching this from and what time is it? Let's begin. 8 nannies had come and gone. Therapists had given up. She screamed when treated with kindness, cried when anyone touched her, and locked her heart behind invisible walls. Until one seemingly ordinary afternoon, Nathan was mopping the marble floor near the elevators when he heard a soft sob behind a column. He stopped, set the mop aside, and walked closer. Then he knelt down slowly, carefully, as if afraid to break something fragile. From the pocket of his shirt, he took out a small object, something that looked ordinary, but somehow made the whole world stand still. And then, miraculously, the girl stopped crying. On the 30th floor of Bennett Innovations, in the heart of New York City, the glass walls reflected the light of the entire city below. Harold Bennett stood motionless, her rich brown fingers trembling as they touched the edge of her laptop. Her natural hair, usually styled in an elegant twist, was pulled back simply today, revealing the exhaustion in her dark eyes. On the screen was the 9th psychological report about her daughter, Ivana. Patient completely rejects strangers, severe PTSD symptoms, no response to therapy, psychiatric intervention recommended. Harold slowly closed the laptop. Not again. At 41, the CEO of a $3.2 billion biotech empire, a black woman who had shattered every glass ceiling, now stood powerless before a 7-year-old child. Since the day Daniel Bennett, her husband, died in a plane crash 3 months ago, Ivana had become a shadow of herself. Those eyes, only 7 years old, carried a hollowness most adults would never dare to face. 3 months earlier, Ivana had been the light of this office. She ran in holding a drawing. "Mom, look, I drew us, you, Daddy, and me." Daniel laughed, his deep voice filling the room as he lifted his daughter. "Do you know your mom is the smartest woman in the world?" "I know," Ivana giggled, her brown curls bouncing, "but Daddy's the best." Now only the hum of the air conditioner remained. Harold opened the special room designed for Ivana. In the far corner, Ivana sat curled up, her beautiful brown skin looking almost gray in the dim light, clutching an old doll, the last gift from her father. "Ivana, sweetheart." Harold knelt down. "Today we're going to meet a new doctor." "No," the scream tore through the room. "I don't want any doctors. I want Daddy back." The doll flew across the room. Harold froze, her hands trembling. A woman who could run a global empire didn't know how to hold her own daughter. For 3 months she had tried everything. 8 nannies quit. 9 therapists failed. Every professional wrote the same line: "This child needs time or a miracle." But Harold Bennett no longer believed in miracles. 6 a.m. The old apartment in Brooklyn lay shrouded in darkness. Nathan Cole shut off the alarm and sat up. 38 years old, but he looked at least 10 years older. Silver streaks touched both temples of his close-cropped hair. His deep brown eyes held lines etched by sleepless nights. He walked into the next room, photos taped to the wall. Pictures of a little black boy with bright eyes and a missing front tooth, Micah. Nathan stood still. Every morning, he stopped before the largest photo, Micah smiling, hugging a stuffed dog. "Good night, my little boy," he whispered, even though the sun was rising. Then he quietly closed the door, carrying that familiar weight in his chest. 6 years earlier, the small apartment had been full of laughter. "Daddy, look, I built a castle." 5-year-old Micah sat surrounded by Lego bricks. Nathan knelt down, smiling. "It's beautiful. My boy's a genius architect. Then I'll build a castle for you to live in." "For me?" "Why's that?" "Because you deserve it. You're the best dad in the world." He didn't know it would be the last time he heard that laugh. Now, in the packed subway car, Nathan sat silently, wearing his navy blue janitor uniform. He opened his worn canvas bag. Inside was a cloth pouch, his whole world, handmade toys, a patch teddy bear, a felt rabbit, a tiny wooden car. Once, Nathan had been a preschool teacher. He was married to Grace Cole, a nurse. They had Micah, and though life was modest, their little home overflowed with laughter. Each night, Nathan would tell Micah bedtime stories. Once upon a time, there was a rabbit who couldn't hop, but he didn't give up. He practiced every day, and one day, he jumped higher than all the rest. Micah tilted his head. "Dad, why didn't the rabbit give up?" "Because he knew that what makes us special isn't what we're good at, it's that we never give up." He didn't know that was the last night he'd ever tell Micah a story. The accident happened on a fall afternoon. Grace was driving Micah home from school. A truck lost control, a devastating crash. Grace survived. Micah didn't. Nathan got the call while teaching. He ran to the hospital, his heart pounding. When the doctor stepped out, one look told him everything. Nathan collapsed to the floor. Grace never forgave herself. "It's my fault, I killed our son." "No, Grace, it was an accident. I should have died instead." 6 months later, he woke to find a letter. "Dear Nathan, I can't live with this pain anymore. I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to go." Grace, she left and never came back. He lost his son, then his wife. And after that, he slowly began to lose himself. He couldn't return to teaching, he quit. In the years that followed, Nathan did everything, waiter, driver, mover, whatever paid the bills, until he found a job at Clean Core, a janitorial company. "Why do you want this job?" the manager asked. "Because no one notices the janitor, and I don't want to be seen anymore." But there was one thing Nathan never gave up. Every night, he sat alone stitching scraps of fabric, carving bits of wood, making toys the way he once did for Micah. Maybe because when those little things took shape, he felt Micah was still there. Wednesday afternoon, the Bennett Innovations building shimmered under the fading sunlight. Nathan had been working there for 2 months, quietly mopping floors, emptying trash cans. No one called him by name, they just knew him as the janitor on the 30th floor. But Nathan noticed the small things. He noticed the little black girl who always sat alone in the executive hallway, clutching a worn-out doll. She didn't look at anyone, didn't speak. Those eyes, Nathan recognized them instantly. They were the eyes of a child who had lost a piece of her soul. The same look Micah had. Thursday afternoon, 3U, Nathan was mopping the marble floor when he heard it. A faint sob buried beneath the air conditioner's hum. He froze. Listened. The sound came from behind the last marble column, a hidden corner with no security cameras. He hesitated, but that cry pulled something deep inside him, memories of Micah trembling through nightmares. Before he realized it, Nathan's feet were moving toward the sound. Behind the column, Ivana Bennett sat curled up, face buried in her arms. Her small body shook. Nathan stopped, keeping a respectful distance. He said nothing. Then slowly, he knelt. Ivana didn't look up, but her breathing changed. She could feel someone there. Nathan stayed quiet. He simply sat beside her, motionless. A gentle stillness filled the space between them. He reached into his pocket and took out a small teddy bear. He had sewn it the night before. Faded brown, clumsy stitches, 2 button eyes, shiny yet sad. Nathan placed the bear on the floor halfway between them. No words, no gestures, just presence. Time seemed to stop. Ivana slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen. She looked at the bear, then at the quiet man. Nathan didn't smile. He simply nodded once, gently. The girl reached out, trembling, and touched the bear. Then she hugged it tight. The fabric was soft, warm. And for the first time in 3 months, Ivana stopped crying. Not because someone told her to stop, but because at last, she felt allowed. Allowed to be weak, to hurt, without being judged. Nathan stayed there, silent. After 5 minutes, he quietly stood, picked up his mop, and walked away. Up on the 30th floor, Harold Bennett stared at the security footage. The image of a black man in a blue uniform, kneeling beside her daughter, placing a clumsy little teddy bear on the floor, made her chest tighten painfully. Tears streamed down her face. She had just witnessed a miracle. And the man who performed it was someone no one had noticed for 2 months. The next morning, Harold arrived early. She grabbed the phone. I need information on the janitor from the 30th floor. Male, mid-30s to 40s, brown complexion. You must mean Nathan Cole. He's with clean corpse. I want his file now. An hour later, the file appeared. Name, Nathan Cole, 38. Education, bachelor's in early childhood education. Previous occupation, preschool teacher, 2012, 2018. Reason for leaving, not specified. Current job, janitor, 2020. Present, a preschool teacher turned janitor? Something didn't add up. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. Ivana, the child who hadn't left her room in 3 months, opened the door and walked out. She simply held her teddy bear and walked down the stairs, one slow step at a time. In the downstairs lounge, Nathan was wiping the coffee tables. Ivana stood about 5 meters away, hugging the bear tightly. Nathan turned around. Their eyes met. Then Ivana walked closer and sat down on the floor 3 steps away. Nathan said nothing. He kept cleaning. 5 minutes later, he sat down. From his pocket, he took out a plastic bottle cap and placed it gently between them. Once upon a time, there was a tiny bottle cap. Everyone threw it away because they thought it had no value. But the cap knew a secret. Ivana's eyes widened. What secret? She whispered, her voice shaky. Nathan looked up, surprised. It was the first time he'd heard her speak. He smiled softly. The cap knew that its worth wasn't about how others saw it, but how it saw itself. Was the cap sad? Nathan paused. He took a slow breath and nodded. Yes, very sad. But then it met a friend, and that friend showed it that being sad doesn't mean you're weak. Are you sad too? He smiled faintly. I used to be very sad, and sometimes I still am. Why? Because I lost someone very important. She looked up, whispering. I lost my dad too. Nathan's heart clenched. I know, and I'm so sorry. Then they sat there in silence. 2 souls, one man who had lost his child, and one little girl who had lost her father, sat side by side, sharing their pain in quiet understanding. Up on the 30th floor, Harold watched the security feed, tears streaming. Her daughter was talking, for the first time in 3 months. 3 days later, the investigative report landed on Harold's desk. Nathan Cole, married to Grace Cole, 2013. One son, Micah Cole, October 15, 2018. Severe traffic collision. Grace was driving when struck by a truck. Grace survived. Micah, age 5, died 3 hours later. Nathan requested indefinite leave. Never returned to teaching. Grace admitted twice for major depression and suicidal intent. April 2019, she left home. Nathan relocated to Brooklyn, living alone. Harold covered her mouth, tears welling. Now she understood. Nathan wasn't just a man who happened to help Ivana. He was a father trying to save another child, because he couldn't save his own. That afternoon, Harold summoned Nathan to her office. Sit down, she said softly. He sat, hands folded stiffly. Harold slid the folder across the desk. I know about Micah. Nathan froze. She continued. I'm sorry. No father deserves to endure that. Nathan said nothing. Harold took a breath. I lost my husband 3 months ago. Plane crash. Ivana and I were waiting at the airport. Then the phone rang. No survivors. Nathan looked up. I'm so sorry, he said quietly. Thank you. But I understand your pain, and I think you understand Ivana's. Nathan's voice grew low. She feels like part of her died, and nothing can fill that space. Harold nodded, tears shimmering. Yes, but you did what no one else could. You made her feel allowed to hurt, to cry, to remember. Nathan exhaled slowly. That's all I ever wished someone had told me after Micah died. Everyone said, be strong, move on. But I didn't want to move on. I wanted to grieve. I wanted to remember him. Harold wiped her eyes. You still make toys for Micah, don't you? Nathan looked surprised. How do you know? I noticed. Every toy you've given Ivana, handmade, sewn with care. Nathan smiled faintly. Yes, I make one every night, so I can feel like he's still here. And now you give them to Ivana. Maybe that's what Micah would want. Maybe that's how he still helps other children. Through me, Harold stood and walked to the window. Nathan, I'd like to ask you something for my daughter. Nathan looked up. What is it? Stay, not as a janitor, as Ivana's friend, someone she can trust. He hesitated. But I'm not a therapist. I have no credentials. You have something no degree can teach, heart and understanding. Nathan sat in silence. Then he nodded. I'll stay, but on one condition. What condition? I don't want Ivana to think I'm replacing her father. I'm just a friend, someone who listens. Harold smiled softly. That's exactly what I want, too. Nathan stood and extended his hand. Harold took it, not the handshake of a CEO and employee, but of two people learning to live again after loss. Rumors spread through Bennett Innovations like wildfire. The CEO hired a janitor to care for her daughter. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. Margot Lynn, a senior board member, stood up. Harold, this decision is incomprehensible. Mr. Cole has no certification. If anything goes wrong, this company faces serious liability. Harold's tone stayed calm. He helped my daughter. Henry Cho interjected. Are you aware he lost a child? That could influence how he interacts with Ivana. Harold rose, her voice sharp as steel. I know exactly what happened to him. And that's precisely why he understands my daughter better than anyone. A few others started to speak, but Harold cut them off. That's enough. This is my decision. Anyone who disagrees is free to leave. Silence fell. Margot sighed. Harold, you're acting out of emotion, not logic. Harold met her gaze. Emotion? For 3 months my daughter hasn't spoken. All your experts have failed. Yet one man, no title, no degree, made her smile. So don't talk to me about logic. Logic can't save my child. No one said another word. A week later, the storm hit. The front page screamed, Billionaire Harold Bennett hires janitor to care for daughter. Scandal or desperation. Within hours, social media exploded. Supporters wrote, she's just a mother trying to save her child. You don't need a degree to heal. You need heart. Critics fired back. This is a scandal. That man could be dangerous. 3 days later, the NYPD received an anonymous complaint. That afternoon, 2 police officers arrived. Nathan was in the cafe with Ivana, telling a story when a firm voice sounded. Mr. Nathan Cole. He turned. Yes, we need to speak with you. Ivana startled. Who are they, Uncle Nathan? Nathan knelt. It's all right, sweetheart. They just want to ask questions. But panic flashed across her face. She clutched his hand. No, they'll take you away just like they took my dad. The cafe fell silent. The officers stepped closer. Sir, you'll need to come with us. Another voice rang out, strong, commanding. What's going on here? Harold Bennett. Mrs. Bennett, we received a complaint. Complaint about what? That's confidential. Harold stepped forward. Mr. Cole works for me. If you want to ask questions, you'll go through our legal team. Ma'am, we're just doing our job. And I'm doing mine, protecting my employee. Without a court order, you have no right to take him. A tense silence. Finally, one officer murmured, We'll be back. They left. That night, Nathan went to Harold's office. I think I should leave. No, I'm causing trouble for you and for Ivana. You're helping her. That's all that matters. Nathan shook his head. They won't stop, Harold. They'll dig into my past. And when they do, they'll turn me into a monster. Harold stepped closer. Then we'll fight. I don't want to fight. I just want Ivana to be safe. She won't be safe if you walk away. You know that. Nathan said nothing. And in that quiet moment he understood. Leaving was no longer an option. It was a Thursday night. Harold was in her office. The clock read 10 p.m. Her phone rang. Mrs. Bennett. Ivana, she's gone. Harold froze. What did you just say? She was in her room. I went to the kitchen. A few minutes. When I came back, she's gone. Harold called Nathan immediately. Ivana's missing. Nathan slammed the brakes. How long? About 30 minutes. Was she carrying anything? Just her teddy bear and sketchbook. He already knew where she was. The old Bennett Innovations headquarters. The building where Daniel once worked. Long ago, Ivana had asked, Uncle Nathan, where did my dad used to work? At the old building near Mapleview Park. I want to go there someday. That's where his memories are, right? He sped through the quiet streets. The old tower appeared, its rusted sign reading, Bennett Innovations. He slipped in through the side door. Ivana, where are you? No answer, only his echo. He climbed, 3rd floor, 4th. Then on the 5th, Daniel's old office, he saw a faint glow beneath the door. Nathan pushed it open. In the corner, Ivana sat curled up, clutching her teddy bear, her cheeks streaked with tears. Ivana, she looked up. Uncle Nathan? He ran to her and pulled her into his arms. You scared me half to death. Why did you run away? Through sobs, she whispered. I just wanted to find my dad. You came here to find him. Ivana nodded. This is where he worked. I thought if I came here, I'd feel closer to him. Nathan held her tighter. But you know he's not here anymore. But I miss him so much. I want to hear his voice again. I don't want to forget him, Uncle Nathan. Nathan lifted her chin gently. You'll never forget him. He's in you, every single day. But what if I forget what he looks like? Nathan smiled faintly. Then look in the mirror. You have his eyes, his smile, and his heart. Every time you see yourself, he's right there, looking back at you. Ivana burst into tears, wrapping her arms around him. But I want him here. Nathan held her close. I know, I want my son here too, every single day. The sound of heels echoed down the hallway. Harold appeared, flanked by security. The moment she saw Ivana in Nathan's arms, she raised a hand. Stop. Everyone froze. Ivana, the little girl turned. Harold rushed forward and held her tight. You scared me to death, sweetheart. I'm sorry, Mom. I just wanted to find Dad. Tears spilled down Harold's cheeks. I know, baby. I've been looking for him too, every single day. Ivana looked up. But I don't have Dad anymore. I only have Mom and Uncle Nathan. Harold looked at Nathan, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for finding her. Nathan shook his head. I didn't find her, ma'am. She found me from the very beginning. After that night, Harold knew she couldn't stay silent. She called a press conference. That morning, before hundreds of reporters, the CEO of Bennett Innovations stepped up to the podium. My name is Harold Bennett, and today, I want to talk about my daughter. The room fell silent. 3 months ago, I lost my husband, and my daughter lost her father. I tried everything to help Ivana. Hired the best specialists. Spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nothing worked, until I met Nathan Cole. She paused. He's not a doctor. He's not a therapist. He's simply someone who's felt the same pain my daughter feels. And there are things no classroom can teach. A reporter raised a hand. Mrs. Bennett, aren't you worried about your daughter's safety? Harold's voice was unwavering. My daughter is safer than she's ever been. Not because he has a certificate, but because he has a heart. And if this world keeps valuing credentials over compassion, maybe we're the ones who need healing. The room stayed frozen. Only the clicking of cameras remained. 1 week later, Harold announced a new initiative. Micah's Hope, a free program for children coping with grief, trauma, or loss. She asked Nathan to lead it. I'm not a leader, he said. You're the only one who can do this. You understand these kids. Nathan finally agreed. But it has to be called Micah's Hope, so my son can still be part of it. Harold nodded, agreed. A month later, Micah's Hope opened. No glass conference rooms, just a warm, cozy space. Thick rugs, golden light, shelves filled with handmade toys. On the main wall hung a photo of Micah, smiling wide, his front tooth missing. Beneath it, sometimes the brightest light comes from the smallest hearts. During the first week, 3 children showed up. A 6-year-old boy who'd lost his mother. An 8-year-old girl caught between divorced parents. A 9-year-old boy bullied at school. Nathan sat with them. He didn't teach. He simply listened. Then he told a story. Once upon a time, there was a little star. It wasn't as bright as the others, so it thought it was useless. But one night, a lost child wandered into the forest, and the star's faint light was enough to guide the child home. From that night on, the star realized, our worth isn't measured by how brightly we shine, but by who we shine for. The children listened, eyes wide, breath still. And in the corner, Ivana sat beside a new girl, holding her hand. "It's okay," Ivana whispered. "Mr. Nathan will help you. He helped me too." That evening, after the children had gone, Nathan and Harold stayed behind. Harold looked at Micah's picture. "Do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Staying, opening up again." Nathan was silent. "No, at first I thought I didn't deserve to be happy again. But Ivana taught me something, that loving again doesn't mean forgetting." Harold nodded, smiling through tears. "I've learned that too from you." "I didn't do anything." "You did," Harold whispered. "You showed me that strength isn't about never falling apart. It's about getting back up and helping someone else stand with you." Saturday evening, Nathan stopped by Harold and Ivana's home. A small, warm apartment in Brooklyn. Ivana opened the door, beaming. "Uncle Nathan, you're here." She tugged him to the kitchen. The table was set. Pasta, salad, toasted bread. "I made it myself," she declared. "You did. It smells amazing." During dinner, Ivana talked excitedly. "A new boy came today. He was really sad. But when Uncle Nathan told his story, he smiled." Harold looked at Nathan. "Thank you." "For what?" "For giving my daughter back to me." Nathan shook his head. "No, ma'am. She was never lost. I just helped you see her again." After dinner, Ivana pulled Nathan into her room. She pointed to a drawing on the wall. 4 figures stood together. Daniel, Harold, Ivana, and Nathan. Beside Nathan stood a small boy, holding his hand. "That's Micah," Ivana said with a shy smile. "I drew him here so he wouldn't feel lonely." Nathan went still. He knelt and hugged her tight, tears streaming. But this time, they weren't from grief. They were gratitude. "Thank you, Ivana. Thank you so much." 1 year later, Micah's hope had grown into 10 centers across the city, reaching more than 200 children. At the anniversary celebration, Nathan was invited to speak. "I'm not a great speaker," he began. "I'm just a father who once lost his child." The hall fell still. 6 years ago, I lost Micah, my son, 5 years old, in a car accident. At that time, I thought that was the end. His eyes drifted to the front row, where Ivana sat beside Harold, beaming. But then a little girl showed me that love never really ends. It only changes form. Micah isn't here anymore. But he lives in every story I tell. In every child I help. His voice broke. And that's why Micah's hope isn't just for children who are hurting. It's for the grown-ups, too. The ones who've forgotten that we can still love, even after our hearts have been broken. The whole room rose to its feet. Applause thundered. Ivana ran onto the stage, throwing her arms around him. "I love you, Uncle Nathan." He hugged her tightly. "I love you too, Ivana." After the ceremony, Harold and Nathan stood on the rooftop terrace, looking out over New York. "Can you believe it?" Harold said. "A year ago, I was a desperate mother, and you were the invisible man." Nathan smiled. "And now," she turned to him. "Now we're a family, a family." Harold nodded. "Ivana sees you as her second father. And I see you as a friend, a brother, a piece of our lives I didn't know we needed." Nathan looked at her for a long time, then nodded. "I want that too. I'm just afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of losing again." Harold squeezed his hand. "Then we'll be afraid together and heal together." For the first time in 6 years, Nathan's heart no longer felt empty. Sunday morning, Maple View Park. Ivana was on the swing set, Harold pushing her. Nathan sat on a nearby bench, smiling. Beside him lay a photo album, pictures of Micah, pictures of Ivana, and one photo of all three together. Not a traditional family, but one built from love. Not replacement, but continuation. "Uncle Nathan, come push me," Ivana called. He laughed. "All right, princess, your turn." Laughter filled the morning air. Harold watched them, tears falling. Not of sorrow but of joy. Sometimes miracles don't come from experts. They come from ordinary people. People who understand pain because they've lived it. Nathan Cole wasn't a hero. He was simply a father who lost his son. But through that loss, he found another child. Not to replace Micah, but to honor him. And Ivana, the girl no one could reach, now runs, laughs, and lives because someone saw her, sat beside her, and didn't try to fix her. He simply stayed, quiet, patient, loving. That's the real miracle, not healing completely, but learning to live with the wound, together. Today, Micah's Hope operates in more than 30 cities, helping over 5,000 children and families. The sun dipped low over the park. Ivana's laughter echoed as the swing rose higher, while Nathan and Harold sat side by side, silent, peaceful. The story ends, but the healing continues. Because within each of us, there is a Micah's Hope, a small flicker that may lose its way, but still has the power to guide someone home.